I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Lavi.
And Salty and Chip.
We've come from after a fresh diet of the hamburger sacred cow of Rush.
Yeah.
That was really you. You're the one that said it was terrible. I didn't think it was terrible.
Oh.
I just thought it was too singy.
Yeah.
But you're only getting authentic reviews here, ladies and gentlemen. You know what's funny is that was one of the deepest conversations we've had in quite some time. People were just too emotional.
Right, to be able to appreciate the depth of the conversation.
Speaking of sacred cows, we're back. The big homie, you like
Maynard, yep.
Maynard, MJK. Shout out to the big homie Carmen.
Yep.
Carmen is our residential Tool person. I'm like, Carmen, should we do a Tool song? She said, yeah, I think it's time.
It's time.
I said, well, Carmen said it, khalas.
Yep.
Carmen says it, that's
it's official.
That's it. So this is... I actually really am very happy about this, because this is the Pushit Salival thingamajig. Mm-hmm. And it's them live. And I always say, can they pull this shit off live or whatever?
Yeah, but I think Maynard already showed that he could.
Where?
We watched that live show of him.
What live show?
Honey, I couldn't tell you. He was in like some shadowy thing going around in a circle.
Oh, yeah. The Lateralis. He was doing Lateralis. I just had to see Lateralis live because that's my favorite Tool song. Okay, so this is the big homie. I haven't seen him in quite some time. Mm-hmm. So here we are. This is Push It. And Salival, I guess Carmen told me Salival is a live album.
Oh, the whole thing is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Get it? Live.
Oh.
I just saw that. I just saw that just now. I think it's a play on words. Everything with Tool has like 9 different meanings, so I'm pretty sure that's part of it. All right, so Salival, Tool, and then I Push It. I don't know. All right, we should start.
Hey, if you guys want one of those Sori secret shirts,
Yeah.
go to PayPal. Go ahead, explain it.
Vin and Sori merch at gmail.com.
Yep, and it's $25 per shirt. But if you are outside of the U.S., you have to pay $15 for shipping. But I can get any size if you specify in there, even up to a 5X. So I've gotten a few of those already. So if you're interested in any of those, even kid sizes, you just have to specify. The only thing we can't do is like a really small shirt because my head is too big on it. All right, that's it. And
we're off.
Go.
Off you go.
We've been trying something a little different this tour. We've been looking at one of our songs from a different angle, under a different light, so we can hopefully kind of see it almost for the first time. We'd like to try that for you tonight. Is that okay? We're gonna need your help. We need your help and your permission. So we need you to find a comfortable space that's not only comfortable, but vulnerable. I want you to shut your eyes and go there, and we'll meet you on the other side.
that idea. Look. Look at me.
What the fuck?
I told you.
pushed you away, my dear. I will choke until I swallow. Choke this infant here before me. What are you but my reflection? Who am I to judge or strike you down? Who am I to judge or strike you down? But you push it, and I'm shoving you, and you push me, and I'm shoving you.
He's a ridiculous artist.
Well, they all are.
Yeah, I
Drumming
always
and
think that
bass
the... Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. But I always feel like the singer is the mind behind the whole band. And I know that that's not true. But I always forget that that's not true. I mean, I don't know if Maynard's the mind behind all of it, but...
I think Tool is like one of those rare moments when everybody is the genius.
I mean...
But God almighty.
Everybody's on 10. Everybody's good. What?
I will say, though, I think they're like one of those bands that you can't... I mean, Nightwish fans are going to kill me, but they replaced Tarja and they were able to continue Nightwish.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can continue Tool without Maynard. I don't
Nope.
I don't see it happening.
No. I totally agree. You cannot do that. Nope.
I don't think you can replace Danny Carey either, though, the drummer.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I can't. I didn't like... I don't know. The drummer was pretty bad. So I don't know.
Bad as in like a badass?
Oh, yeah, badass, yeah.
Yeah. This polyrhythmic
Yeah, everybody's so
all
good.
the time.
Like, wow.
This was a really true to life song, man.
You don't say.
Lyrically, it's like...
Yeah.
Fuck. I'm glad it was that long, too. Because that's how those things work. They're very long and protracted and to get yourself, like, you know...
Yeah.
out of being intertwined with a person is it's an interesting line. A lot of interesting lines in this one.
Yeah, there was.
There's always this thing where it's like, can he hit these notes when he's live? And
I told you, we saw that other one, and he did.
He just blasted that shit. There's a couple, like when he said there's no love and fear, and he took it up. You know, I was like, I mean, he's a and there was another part too in the song. It was like at the first quarter of the song where I forgot one of their signatures, at least for me, was how it creeps up on you musically. How it creeps up on you. All of a sudden, it's like you're just doing this and you're chill and you're on your DMT, like hey. And then all of a sudden you're doing this, and you're like, you don't even know when it happened. It just they just creep up on you. And like Maynard, like there are times when he will like step out of it. You know what I mean? Like he will step out of it and just let the music like do what it does. You know, like he doesn't need to like
be front and center the whole time.
There's not many people that could manage to have a voice like that and not always be center stage. As a matter of fact, like he stayed like in the Lateralis thing. I don't know if he still does it, but he was like on the side, like the side left of the stage. He wasn't out in front with the rest of the people. And it's a weird. It's I don't know. Like for that level of talent and giftedness, like the combined with that level of. I don't even know if it's humility, because every time he talks, he doesn't sound like a humble dude at all. You know, he sounds like a jerk. But at the same time, if you look at his actions, he doesn't feel the need to just dominate everything and permeate everything with his vocal style. There's sometimes when he'll just step back and let the music do whatever, and then he jumps back in when it's time for him to come back in.
Yep.
And I think that's I think that type of patience and that type of restraint is like one of the balances I've always tried to have in my life, you know, where it's like it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Like to be able to do something and not do it because you don't need to do it in that moment. Like that's not an easy thing to figure out.
Especially, I'm sure, for people, the more talented you are, the more gifted you are, the harder it is, I'm sure, to strike that balance.
Well, yeah, but of course, like I said, he's got Danny Carey in there, who's a genius in his own right. But there was a specific section again. Like I wish I could break down the song, like musically and then lyrically. But there's another section of the song where it was like the bass was kind of like this throbbing like person. In the song. And it seemed like the bass was featured in that moment, you know. It was just there were a couple times when just the musicianship was just
on point.
They definitely have a signature.
Honey, I'm trying to look at those lyrics and you keep scrolling that thing up and down, up and down.
Yeah. They're like one of the few bands that like has a signature sound and isn't boring.
Yeah.
Like I know when I'm listening to it, I'm like, that's a fucking Tool song.
Yep.
But it's not like, oh god, it's a Tool song.
No, it has this feel that you're like, oh yeah, I'm home. It has a home feeling. Like, I don't know, it's like, it's a good feeling. I really like it.
It's very strange to me that a band can pull that off. That you can be a distinct, clear, obvious. This is them without being.
Well, there's so much like musically the way that they put all of those notes together and play all those instruments. Like it just doesn't feel like that it was lazy. Like it feels so intricate, and like what it does inside your brain is like different. Like I don't know,
Yeah, what were the chills about? Because like you legit had like goosebumps.
I don't make it up. When I get chills, like right when it started, I got chills.
I think people know from your Rush response that you don't make anything up.
My Rush response, right? Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, like there's some songs where I'll just like get goosebumps, and then like this one started right up, and I was like, oh my gosh.
It didn't even really start that much, but I think it's because
it just had that sound that I don't know what it is.
Well, shut your eyes and go there. We'll meet you on the other side.
Yes, I forgot that he did that. Yeah, when he did that, it reminded me. Actually, this might have even been it. Was that it reminded me of like my youth group days and stuff like that. Like that's how like the youth pastors and stuff would talk. They'd be like, you know, everybody close your eyes and just like feel the presence of the Lord, and like that. I always liked that. Like let's stop everything and like just slow down. And so that might have even been why like that part did that, was because it like reminded me, like he was like go to that vulnerable place and then we'll meet you on the other side. Like
it's a very interesting
that's
thing.
That's probably what it was.
These type of phenomena are very interesting to me because if you were a complete and pure naturalist, I'm not even meaning like cynical. Just a naturalist, like Alec, where we were having a conversation, and he basically said like love is what you feel about love or whatever, it's just neurons in your whatever. But it's like, so you had that type of a feeling. So like when you're in the youth group and somebody sets the agenda like that,
yeah,
you're saying, any Christian's gonna say, oh, that's the presence of God. Like, oh, you felt the presence of God.
When they would say it?
Well, yeah. Like, no, let's say that when it was
on. You were probably going to.
When it was on, though. Like,
yeah.
Right? And then Maynard says it, and then you have this physical response with the goosebumps. So it was like, okay, well, were you really feeling the presence of God, or did your youth, whatever, kind of plant a seed in there to psychologically, is it a form of, psychosomatic manipulation?
I don't think that it is, because you don't always feel it. Like, I think that if you had a psychosomatic reaction, it would be like that consistently. But there was times where I fully expected, like, I'm going to meet God tonight. Like, this is a night. It's going to be freaking, and it doesn't happen.
That's a good point.
No, it's not. And even with this, like, when it started and when he said that, like I was like, oh, and then like partway through the song, like in the beginning, please stop scrolling up and down, honey. There was a part, I'm not sure which part. It was like one of these first few paragraphs, when he was like repeating something over a few times over. And like in my mind, like I was changing the words to be something toward God. Like his music makes me feel very spiritual, actually. Like, I mean, I'm not saying he's intentionally doing it, but that's how it works for me, because it's a very like, I don't know.
Well, when you look at the artwork, it seems like he's doing it intentionally.
Yeah, because you always see, like, there's always something coming from the center of the person's being.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of, like, non-religious spirituality that marks Tool. And I've heard so many people say it's a spiritual experience. And it's very, very interesting, because if you consider the constituency of our channel, the majority of which are atheists / agnostics, but definitely at least naturalists.
Yep.
But people still yearning for that type of, like even Sam Harris is kind of like probably the most popular pop atheist right now. Mm-hmm. Even Sam Harris is kind of like talked about versions of spirituality without, while being an atheist simultaneously.
Yeah.
And it's like. So it's interesting to me that Maine, the entire band seemed very self-conscious of the idea that they're bringing people into a spiritual experience. And it makes me wonder, like, how many other bands would be able to accomplish that if they had that self-awareness? You know, like...
Yeah.
Well,
I think that... Go ahead. I'll remember.
Well, it's just interesting to me, like, I remember going to a Slipknot show, and it was very atmospheric. But when they were doing Iowa, like, and you would read their interviews, there was a very purposeful. They were trying to say something purposefully, and they were trying to do something when everybody was together, and the audience was together, and then so it kind of permeated everything. And I don't think it was like the devil or whatever. I don't think it was divine necessarily, but I think that the human spirit is a powerful thing. And so if you can get a room full of human beings like thinking about one thing simultaneously and purposely telling them to dig into their subconscious and all the rest of it, like it makes me wonder what are the limits of, like, where is the line? Because obviously from our perspective, like, there's supernatural shit happening all the time, but then there's, it's interesting because somebody challenged me one time, and I'm actually, like, I've been thinking about it since like 2 months ago. It's like right here in my brain, and I think about it every day, but I don't have the word for it yet. But basically, the person said, "What is this distinction between supernatural and natural? Like, what are you talking about?" And I say, "Well, it's things that supersede the laws of the given laws of nature. That's supernatural." And then he's like, "But then I think to myself, well, you believe that there are things about human beings that can't be measured by the laws of nature, like a soul or a spirit. You can't measure that in the laws of nature. And of course, you can't measure the laws of nature by the laws of nature."
Wait, what?
You can't measure the laws of nature by the law of nature. You can't measure the law of logic by you can only measure the laws of logic by logic itself, right? But
so why are you saying you can't measure it?
In other words,
itself?
you can't.
That's the only way to measure it.
Well, yeah, but then it becomes circular. You're using the thing to justify itself.
Oh, you're saying you can't do it because then it's just circular. That's what you mean by you can't.
Well, right.
Okay.
And then you say to yourself, well, shit. Then what is the distinction between natural and supernatural? And this guy was telling me there is no difference. It's just things are, and that's it. Period. Full stop. So then I said, well, there's still like a category in my mind for demons in the spiritual world and blah, 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 right? And so then I said to myself, okay, well, what's okay, so forget natural versus supernatural, human versus divine, right? So if I were to do it that way, and I'd say, okay, like, how much of this is just a power of the human spirit, which is amazingly powerful and we don't know.
Right.
Like how powerful the human spirit actually is. And then where is the divine spirit, and and what's that line? And get all these human beings together, and they're like purposely going after their own subconscious. And of course, in a song that's such a heavy song about relationships and how to break free and whatever, I mean, it's obviously going to create a very interesting atmosphere. I just, it's a very fascinating thing. These people. Because I feel like it can take you to certain... Like, if I was... Let's say I was an atheist, right? Like, you can go to transcendent places with a band like Tool.
Oh, for sure.
And not, feel the need for, other spiritual outlets. And I think that that's fascinating. I think that has a ton of implications.
How could you even know something like that? How could you know
What do
that
you
they
mean?
wouldn't need other spiritual outlets?
Well, what I'm saying is, I would say to myself, I don't need a spiritual outlet. I don't need, like, to worship or whatever it is that gets you to places where... Because I remember, with us, where we had a bunch of new Christians and they'd have this crazy transcendent esoteric experience. And it was almost like, they were like drug addicts. Like they wanted another hit of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, like, that always troubled me. I was like, and I never really knew how to say that. Well, I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to say? Well, you want too much God or whatever. And when I look at things like this, it's like, well, wait a second here. You can have a very transcendent spiritual experience without God, is what I'm saying here. At least without consciously pursuing God, let's say it that way. Because you might say, well, God is there, he's present, he's pursuing them in the middle of all that. But what I'm saying is their intention wasn't to encounter God.
Yeah.
Their intention actually was opposite. It was to encounter themselves, I think. Because you're dealing with your subconscious and you're dealing with, the conflicts that you've probably had with a person. So so what it's getting you is in touch with yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not a pursuit of God, it's a pursuit of the self.
Yeah.
Which is your truest self, I'm assuming. So, when he says be vulnerable and all the rest of it, I'm not certain that he's saying be vulnerable to me. I think he's saying use the music
I don't think he meant be vulnerable to him.
Right, I think it means be vulnerable to yourself.
I think he means be vulnerable and let the music take you where you need to go.
Yeah, but vulnerable basically means open. You're open to something. Well, who are you open to?
The music. I think he means be open to the music.
Well,
the experience of the music.
They're already open to the music. That's why they paid, the $150 for the concert ticket.
No, there's a difference between, loving a band and then opening something within yourself to that band. I love Slipknot, but I don't open myself to Slipknot. When Tool comes on, I'm like, yeah, I'm loving Slipknot, but I don't feel like something deep within myself that kind of opens and embraces something. When Tool comes on, that's how I feel. I feel like there is this, I don't know, this introspective sort of vulnerability and opening up, and I don't know.
Well, I think all Tool fans are open to the music. I don't think that they're trying to protect themselves from the music.
No, I'm saying I
think people are trying to protect themselves from themselves. I think the music is a vehicle for people to actually look at themselves. And
yeah.
So when I say, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's be vulnerable to the music. I think it's use the music to be vulnerable to yourself. And those things that you're trying to deny. Because there's nothing that a person will deny more than the shit that happens in their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're dead and you're just you're in a zombified relationship that's dead, but you're acting like it's alive, or having to reconcile yourself to the idea that you ended a relationship, and then the lengths that you had to go to in order to make that happen. So for example, when he said, when I say I might fade like a sigh if I stay, you minimize my movement anyway, I must persuade you another way. Well, so he's basically saying he tried to break it off and sort of look, I'm going to fade out. This is not going to work. I'm going to slowly, fade like a sigh.
If I stay.
If I stay.
Yeah.
So it's basically, just let me go because I'm going to fade out anyway. Let me go gently.
Okay. That's not what I thought this was about. Go ahead.
And then it ends with, I claw your fucking throat away. Because he said, I have to persuade you another way. I must persuade you another way. I gotta persuade you another way to let me go. So here's the other way: is I will claw your. I remember, I'll always love you. As I claw your fucking throat away, it will end no other way.
Oh my god!
Because this person, she's not gonna take. All right, we're done. It's not working. He's gonna fade out like a sigh. The minute he does that, she starts to constrict him. You minimize my movement. So once he starts letting off those.
See, I thought he was saying when I say I might fade like a sigh if I stay. I thought he's saying if I stay in this relationship, I'm as myself, my person, I'm gonna fade away. It wasn't healthy for him to be in that relationship, and he was losing himself in that. And then it says you minimize my movement anyway. So, it seemed to me she didn't care. Even though he was saying he was going to fade away like that and lose himself, she didn't care about that. So then he says, I must persuade you another way. So just saying, listen, I'm fading away, I'm being constricted here, that. I thought that's what it was. And then
that's
pushing, shoving, and pushing and shoving, and pushing me, no love and fear. So then he's saying there's all this pushing and shoving that's going on, and she is not, but she's not from the stanza before, you could see that it doesn't seem like that she's really acting in love, because if somebody said, I'm dying here, I'm fading into a sigh, you should be concerned about that if you love the person, and want to try to make necessary changes to not make that happen to the person. But
See, I don't think the.
But maybe she was a fearful person.
I don't think the fear was her. I think the fear was him. I think he's saying, I'm not here because I love you. I'm here because I'm afraid of what life's going to be like without you.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the next line is staring down the hole again.
Yeah, I just thought that
Hands
was...
are on my back again. Survival is my only fear. Terrified of what may come. So there's fear here, and he's terrified of what may come. What may come of what? What may come of life after her. So he's saying, when he says there's no love and fear, I think he's saying that I'm with you, but I'm not with you because of love. I'm with you because I'm afraid of what may come after you. Survival is my only friend. Like, you're just living on survival now. You're not living for love or all the rest of it.
And then when I saw staring down the hole again, I thought it was like, so now he's like, he tried to like persuade her another way, but she doesn't want to see it.
What?
To see where he's coming from and how he's saying like, this relationship is, I'm gonna fade into a sigh. Like, this isn't healthy for me. And then he says, you minimize me. Well, exactly like what I was saying before. And then he said, then it says the pull, pushing and shoving thing, staring down the hole again. I think he just stayed there anyway. And then he realizes like, oh my gosh, like I'm back, I'm in this relationship still and nothing's changing. She's not changing. Nothing's going anywhere. Hands are on my back again. I just thought that she was like overbearing, you know, like, and so she's like after him. He feels like she's always after him. Then he says survival is my only friend, because that's the way, like, he's like, okay, you're not my friend. You're not trying to help me. Like, you're trying to be whatever. And then he says that survival is his only friend, but then terrified of what may come because there's all that pressure. And he said that he was going to fade away. And then he just goes crazy. But in the song, like, it was like all like, kind of like sucked you in, and then it got really like loud and stuff, which I thought was just trying to communicate the like the craziness of like that ending in that relationship.
How are you interpreting? You minimize my movement?
Because he's saying like, I'm gonna fade away into a sigh if I stay. So like that's like a movement, like fading away, but she minimizes it and makes it like it's not really a big deal. Like,
yeah, I just think he's trying to let her down easy, but she won't let him do that. He's got to go and tear her throat out for her to realize that it's over. Because right above that, he says, I saw the gap again today while you were begging me to stay. Managed to put, he's always trying to leave her, and, you know, something as gentle as a sigh, like, I'm going to fade away, like, this is not going to, you know, I'm going to be more and more reclusive. Maybe he's pulling himself away from her and not being emotionally available. Maybe she'll get the hint, but she won't get the hint. Like, as a matter of fact, the farther away he goes, the more she constricts his movement. And then, so he's like, all right, this is not going to work. So then he, you know, and obviously he didn't really do this in real life, but it's sort of like, you know,
precautionary tale.
Well, I mean, this you know, this happened in my previous relationship where it was like, to her credit, she was like, look, like, I don't want to be with you. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, I mean, you know her, it wasn't as gentle as a sigh, I'll tell you that.
Right.
But it was more like, and I think, I didn't react like this per se, because like, especially toward the end, I was kind of like taking my own emotional space and basically preparing myself for that being over. So I didn't go that way. So I think I was actually the role of the other person in this one, and she would have been in the role of Maynard in this one. And so like there were a lot of times, to her credit, to her whatever, that she was like, look, Vin, this is not working. It's just not working. And there was, you know, the pushing and shoving and this and I you know, that there's no love and fear line was very interesting to me, because
it's a flip of the Bible.
Well, yeah, it's like there's no fear in love. Perfect love casts out fear, because fear has to do with torment. But the one who fears has not been perfected in love, I'm pretty sure is what John says.
Has not been made perfect in love. Yeah, I think my translation was a little different.
So it's interesting, and that's always been like that's been a guiding light for me as far as like why people treat other people the way they do, is because it's not because of hate, it's because of fear. But if you flip it and say there's no love and fear, and it's like, okay, if you're staying with a person because you're afraid of what happens on the other side, then do you really love them? Then it's just an act of self-preservation, which survival is my only friend.
Yeah.
Like, you're not with her because you have any real love and affection. You're with her because of self-preservation, because you're afraid.
Yep.
You're terrified of what might come, so you're just doing it for survival.
Mm-hmm.
And, I always say, like, I have to have water to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I want Pepsi. And it's like, I'd much rather be in a Pepsi relationship than a water relationship. I think a lot of people misconstrue when a person says, I need you, blah, blah, blah. Like, that becomes like, people think that that's like the epitome of a relationship. And I'm not sure. Like, as a matter of fact, I'm pretty much on the other side of that. Like, if you need and you have to have the person like water, then it's not
Healthy?
I don't think that's healthy, and I don't think that that's real love. But I'll have to flesh that out because I need God every day. I think a relationship is unique. I think among human beings, though, like, if you're with the person as an act of survival, how is that like real love or friendship in a relationship?
You can't ask me.
Well, no,
I'm the type of person.
well,
that's like,
I'm thinking out loud here.
Yeah, I'm the type of person that, like, I need you. Like, I want you in my life, and I need you. And if I didn't have you in my life, like, that would like wreck a lot of things for me. Like,
yeah, but you wouldn't die.
I wouldn't literally cease to exist, but like that would be pretty soul crushing for me. But I've never connected with anybody like I've connected with you, so it's like I don't know. Like it's weird because like I'll feel. I mean, I don't know if it's weird. I don't even know why I'm using the word weird. Maybe it's like a protective thing. Like, people are like, this is really weird, but like,
you're not supposed to say this.
Yeah. So I'll just say it's weird, so I can front load that.
You're the master.
I know. So I feel like. No, I forgot what I was gonna say.
The need loving person, soul crushed.
I don't remember.
Well,
Oh, I know what it was. Is that like I've loved people before, but I never felt like my soul like twisted in with theirs. Like, I've loved people, and like I'm not saying that I didn't deeply love people, but like I never felt my soul like, I don't know, intertwine or something, and like and I feel like that like with you. So I feel like, like if I don't know if you've ever done any gardening, like if you have like roots that are like really deep, like those roots will like twist in with other roots, and like if you try to like move out that plant, like sometimes you'll rip the roots off the plant when you're pulling it out if you don't dig it out properly, because it's so intertwined with all the roots that are around it. And so like I kind of feel like that, like with you, like I feel like there's something like inside of my, I don't know, like something that's deep inside me. I don't know if it's soul or like what, but it digs in deep with you, and I don't even know if that's healthy. Maybe that's not even healthy. I don't know, like, but it's definitely so. Like, I feel like I would be uprooted in a sense, like if something like happened with you, and maybe I should only be dug in deep like that with God. Like, I don't know. But then the Bible says that the two become one flesh. So I mean.
right.
If you're one flesh and you rip it in half, that's pretty graphic picture too,
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like, I managed to push myself away as well as you, my dear.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of terms. I was listening to that Neil deGrasse Tyson thing where he was going off on atheists, and he was talking about. he said the word Godspeed.
Yeah. And all the atheists were like, how?
Not all of them, but it's a specific type. And he's like, these fucking people.
Not all of them.
He's like, these fucking people. He said, goodbye.
Yeah.
Is a constricted form of God be with you.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I was like, oh, really?
I'm not sure if that's true or not. But,
really?
But what's interesting, though, is that it really hit me, like, we say all these words and we don't really know what we're saying. Like,
yeah.
That term, my dear.
Yeah.
Or dear so-and-so, or dear Abby. Like, dear means, like, the dear, like...
very precious to...
Precious and the thing close to your heart and blah, blah, blah. And like, think about the term dear. Like, it's not just an introduction when you write a letter. Or dear Susie. Like, your dear, when he says my dear, what you're saying is the closest thing to my heart. That's what dear means. So then it's like, when he keeps repeating my dear, and I was like, shit, like, ending a relationship like a deep relationship like that is a pretty crazy thing to do. You know, we've both been through it, you know, and you know, I don't want to minimize and say if you've never been married, then you've never had a really serious relationship, because that's ridiculous. So like to have to push away your deer, in a sense, is like you were talking about, like the one flesh thing where you tear somebody apart, like because like you at some point the person becomes so much a part of you that you have to push them away. So then he says, like, who are you but my what are you but my reflection? Who am I to judge or strike you down? Like, you know, it's that moment of self-awareness to where, like, if you've been with a person long enough, like, you see a lot of yourself in them and vice versa. And so it's like, I think he's saying, I can't end the relationships on the terms that you're a bad person. And I think that that's important. I think that, like, there are some times when you have to end the relationship on those terms because the person is fucking abusive.
Right.
And I mean, 9 times out of 10, the dude is abusive and he'll kill you if you don't leave. Like, literally. Girls die over that shit. We've got a big enough audience to where that's probably true.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So it's like, if the person's beating the hell out of you and all this line doesn't apply. If he threatens to kill you, this line doesn't apply.
Right.
If she threatens to kill you, I've also been through that, this line doesn't apply. But the normal circumstances in which a relationship breaks down, and the normal impulse to demonize the person and say that they're terrible, and you can do that so that you don't have to feel the pain of pushing the deer part of you away from yourself.
Yeah.
But I think that this was incredibly an incredibly self-perceptive line. What are you but my reflection? Who am I to judge or strike you down? That's pretty crazy.
I didn't understand the I will choke until I swallow. Choke this infant here before me.
No, I think he's talking about ending the relationship.
The infant is the relationship?
Well, an infant is something precious and beautiful, and the promise of a new life and all this, and ending the relationship is like strangling a baby. It's very, very graphic.
Yeah.
And terrible. But, you know.
Yeah.
That's sometimes, because, you know, you know, when you were a teenager and you had the start of that new relationship and everything is all like, yeah, you know, and it's kind of like an infant. It's kind of like,
oh yeah,
you know, the promise of life, and
hope,
and then you and actually creates a sort of innocence in you. Like a new relationship creates a sort of innocence in you, and you act like kind of silly.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And childish, and all the single bitter people like
yeah.
You know.
Or the married.
Or the married.
It doesn't have to be just
people
anybody that's bitter.
Who are not still in love with each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like being in, you know, ending it is like choking an infant. That's how I took it. But I think he's saying, I'm not gonna say that you were some horrible, terrible person. It just didn't work out.
My dear.
You know, and I that's important, and you know that's kind of where I am. You know, as far as, you know, my relationship. Yours is a little bit different, I think. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a weird conversation to have.
Yeah, because
we had to deal with both of them today, so
yeah,
it's like it's very interesting that this is a song we decided to do.
I know. Yeah.
God Almighty. All right, well, I'll never sing this song to you. We're gonna be together forever. Boop.
I do really like the song though.
It's a good song. What do you give it?
I liked it 9.5. I'm going between 9.5 and a 10. I really liked it.
The 9.8 for me.
Okay, I'll go 9.8 because I was between there.
I think the musicianship was great. The vocals are great. I just think that they're an amazing band.
Yeah, but what could have made it a 10? I mean, it wasn't too short. It was long. Like,
I didn't feel all 13 minutes, though.
No. Well, I'm saying it was long. Like, you know, sometimes we're like, I can't give it a 10 because it was too short. I'm not sure why I'm not giving it a 10.
I didn't really...
I don't feel like it's 10 quality.
Well,
but then I do.
It wasn't a start to finish great song to me.
Okay.
like to push you away. I think that was My Dear was like very important
Yeah.
to the song, but that was like a 9.5. I mean, the rest of the song was like a 10. Like I felt like the first stanza was kind of, you know, whatever. But I mean, we're nitpicking at this point, you know, because it's like
It was
it's
good.
a fucking amazing
Yeah.
song. It was just a great song. The 9.8 for me. What do you give it?
I'll go 9.8. Yep.
Been out,
Sorry out.
gone.